Before we get into the actual roster, I just gotta say, why didn't they just say the roster was gonna be this size in the first place? I think it probably would have gotten people more excited for the game and would have made roster speculation far more fun. In the end though, it's just marketing, so let's get to the actual roster. The final roster size is 181 characters in the base game. At the time of release, there will be a bonus character to bring the total to 182, but that is just a pre-order character. It's Daima Goku if you want to know how much you should care about it. I obviously can't list every character, but in general you have Z, Super, GT, and the Z and Super movies. So a very big roster that most people won't have much, if any, issue with. I am not most people though. Here I come to play Buzzkill once again. I wish I could say that this roster is the best roster without question, but there are some bitter pills that come along with it that cause me to pause. So let's get into those things right now. The first is that despite possibly seeming like every character is in this game on the sheer size of it, 31 characters got cut from BT3. So let's go into some detail on who that was and how much sense it makes to me that they were cut given the context of the rest of the roster. Supreme Kai. I could have sworn that I saw the Supreme Kai in a trailer somewhere. Well, I assumed they are doing this and are saving him for the eventual Daima DLC, but you could have had the not chibi version of the game, given that he is a fairly important character. So this is definitely on the weird side for me. Saiyaman 2. Or whatever they called this. I swear it keeps changing. Regardless, they put in Wrath of the Dragon, so why not this too? This one is probably more personal, as Videl is up there on my list of favorite characters, but this seems to fall into they made a character incomplete category. Apul. We got Frieza Soldier. Of course, we can meme about Apul for days, but he isn't really needed. They could just make him an alternate outfit for Frieza Soldier, and that'd be good enough. Fasha. Well, with the new movie, she got written out of existence, so it isn't that much of a shock that she's gone. Hell, we even have female Saiyans without her now too. Of course, she is still a thing, as even with the retcon, it's not like people stopped remembering or stopped liking the Bardock special, so I can see why they cut her, and it honestly doesn't bother me that much, but I would still like to see her come back. Also add in the rest of Bardock's squad while you're at it. King Vegeta. King Cold got in, but not King Vegeta? They have about as much screen time, and in the new Broly movie he shows up, so this one just seems like he should have made it into the game if King Cold did. All the Great Apes. While we're on Saiyans, let's just lump in all those Great Apes into one category. I do not like playable giant characters, and I will not miss these. I'm not sure how many people will either. I'm sure they do have fans, and I wish I could say they added some new giants from Super, but we'll get to that later. Super 17. This is probably the biggest why isn't he there on the whole cut roster. Like, only 2 GT characters that were in BT3 got cut, and one of them is the main villain of an arc. He should just be in the game. Nova. If they had cut only him, then it would have been odd, but I guess not as bad. But with him and Super 17, it's weirder. It's just like, why cut these two if they put in every other GT character from BT3? Garlic Jr. His super form is in the game, but not his base. The main thing you miss from this is a transformation scene, but still. This is one of those completeness things, and we should have the Chrono Trigger imp in the game. Salza and Zanya. So the henchmen got cut, and that's a shame. Of course, the henchmen aren't as important as the main villain. The tricky thing here is thinking when they could possibly add them back in. Would you guys buy a henchman pack? Assuming the deal is good anyway. I would. Pikkon. This one hurts. They put in Fusion Reborn, and they could have had his filler fight with Goku. It's very much on the odd side that he isn't in the game. Dragon Ball. Lastly, we just have all of Dragon Ball minus Kid Goku. One character does not make a series in the game in my opinion, so Dragon Ball isn't in the base roster. If you cut all of it, it certainly opens up to add it in back later, plus it's easier to cut everyone than pick and choose. so this isn't that hard for me to accept. So that's everything that didn't make it in from BT3, and this is the start of the things that gnaw at me about this roster. Real quick, there was one character in Raging Blast 2 that I wanted to see, and that was Hachiyak. He would have been fun. They did add in more characters though, but there were issues there as well. So before we get into what it all means, let's go over the weirdness with the super characters. Kaioken Blue Goku. While Kaioken in Z was a power-up that was used mainly for single attacks or in very short bursts, in Super, Kaioken Blue was more like a form. It would have been so awesome if they had added this in as a full form. Plus you would have gotten that fun aura. Blue Evolved Vegeta, or Bluer, or whatever it's called. This was just a straight up new form, acting like Super Vegeta did in the Cell Saga. So this one is very clearly should have been a transformation. And it's Vegeta. How did we get a Vegeta cut? Super Saiyan 2 Future Trunks. While I do not like pretty much anything about the Goku Black arc, wasn't Trunks Super Saiyan 2? And even if he wasn't, he had some like rage form or something? I'm not going to go back and check. The main point is this seems like Trunks is missing a form or two, doesn't it? Frost. It would have been nice if they'd given him another form, just so he had a transformation at least. Once more with that feeling of completeness. All of them would have been best, but only one feels not enough. Super Saiyan Caulifla. She had it, her back went all tingly to get it, and it pissed off oh so many people. Without getting into it, no, it didn't bother me, but this isn't the time to talk about back tinglies. This falls very hard in the completeness category. I won't say that she needed her Ultra form though, as funny as it would have been if she had it. Super Saiyan 2 Kale. This was just Kale's best form and they didn't give it to her for some reason. I guess having her go from Super Saiyan to Berserk to Super Saiyan 2 seemed odd or something. They just wanted Berserk to be your final form so she'd better match Broly, huh? Bergamo and Ribrianne. Both of them have the exact same issues, so I'll cover both of them now. That being, they both had giant forms that the game doesn't have. While I'm not a fan of giant characters, if you're gonna put them in the game, then put them in the game. Bergamo's like whole shtick was getting bigger. They really should have been in this game. And there we go. Not too many, but when you look at both lists together, it starts to get hard to ignore. And I think that's really the problem. Despite the size, the roster still feels incomplete, or at the very least has little things nagging at you about it. And I know what some people are gonna say, so let me address those real quick. The first being DLC. Obviously, this isn't the PS2 anymore, so adding content to a console game is a thing you can do now. And yeah, DLC could fix all this. But at the same time, a DLC pack that gives you Super 17 or Super Saiyan Caulifla would feel not great to pay extra money for. The second is usual, well, those forms or characters didn't do anything, so why would they be in the game? And to that I say, just look at the roster. It's full of forms and characters that did very little or nothing. That doesn't seem to be something that disqualifies a form or a character from making it in. But I did mention that updates are possible, so there is a solution that would actually work here. If they add in some characters through free updates, that would certainly do it. I know that might be hoping for too much, but free updates along with the DLC release isn't a crazy thing. Doubt it will happen, but a man can dream. So what does that mean for the roster in the end? Well, if you wanted me to rate it, it's like 8 out of 10? Those little things gnawing at the sides of the roster I just can't ignore. At the same time though, it is an overall amazing roster. The trouble is how both these things are true at the same time. Things are missing while there's still so much there. Still, for a starting roster that they want you to pay $70 for, it's really good. Now we can start the fun of talking about what we want the DLC to be.